Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I absolutely love your story. And, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I often think, well, I often have mixed thoughts, not mixed thoughts about the program, but mixed thoughts about the kids. And do they, how many make it, how many don't, like what's it like to be a kid? And is making a wish, like is receiving a wish even beneficial, when you're feeling sick. And then some people say, well, kids are more resilient, which I'm not too sure about, and kids don't realize they're as sick as adults and they don't worry as much. There's so much noise around when kids are sick, and it's kind of like, I don't know what's true and what isn't, but all I know is my heart bloody aches, for the kids. So you're one of them, and you're living proof you make it.
Yes, I am. I am. So, yeah, I was fortunate enough to benefit from the Make-A-Wish organization when I was 11 years old. I was diagnosed with bone cancer, and I had a really long road ahead of me with that. I think any family that knows having a child diagnosed with a critical condition is just really life altering in so
Yeah.
many ways.
Wow. And so what, like the journey leading to it, you were just a happy, healthy kid and, yeah, well, thought you were, like everything was seemed to be going well. And
Yeah.
what made you think, what was the turning point that made you or your parents think, God, there's something wrong here?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it just goes to show how quickly things can change. I was an active, healthy kid. I played basketball, I figure skated,
Wow.
and I one day just developed a pain in my knee. I thought it was an injury. I initially started wearing a knee brace to my activities, but then it just didn't go away. And it started waking me up at night. And it became clear that maybe it was something more going on. So that led to a visit with my pediatrician, who fortunately was able to get me in for an x ray right away. And that revealed a tumor growing in my leg.
Wow. Wow. It's at 11 years old. There's a lot of 11-year-olds who, one, wouldn't say anything because it's not cool. I'm not going to talk to my parents about that, But also at 11, it's not easy to properly articulate what the feeling is other than a sore knee. Did you find it was difficult to communicate exactly what was happening, or you left it to the expert?
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes the symptoms that can lead to these type of diagnoses can be pretty vague, and
Mm,
they can be symptoms that can be dismissed as normal things like growing pains or
yeah.
injury. But there was something about it that it was going on for weeks, and we knew that there was maybe something more going on. So I'm glad I kept speaking up, and I'm glad that my parents and my pediatrician took the next step to look into it further, because that really is so important to get to this type of a diagnosis early.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it could have been life threatening, or like this. Well, it could have taken your life had it not,
Mhm.
you know, gone
Correct.
gone well. How long was that journey for? From sort of starting off with the sore knee at 11 to coming out the other end saying, "I think I've got it. I think I'm on
Yeah,
top of
yeah.
this."
So I would say it was a good year of very intensive chemotherapy. I had a surgery to remove the tumor from my leg. And fortunately, it was able to keep my leg, because at that time, amputation was the common treatment for this type of cancer, kind of leading up
Mm,
to the time that I was diagnosed. It was just starting to become um, newer surgery to be able to spare the limb. So that was great, but it also meant a really long journey of physical therapy.
mm.
And just it was hard. It was being on crutches or in a wheelchair for a good part of a year. It was being in and out of the hospital, and it was missing out on just those normal things that you do as a kid,
Mm.
whether it be holidays or going to school or being around friends. It just was very challenging because it turns your whole life upside down.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have siblings that went through this as well, or? Yep.
I do. Yeah, I have a younger sister, so she was 5 years younger than me, so around kindergarten at the time. And I mean, it certainly affects every member of the
Yep.
family when a child is ill.
Yeah.
And I know that she felt that too. Yeah, it was a big stressor for all of us.
Yeah, it is hard. When you ask an 11-year-old to be grateful, and it's kind of like, nah, that doesn't happen. Do you think though that coming out of that, it shifted your perspective? And it's hard for an 11-year-old to really think that or to grasp that, other than, well, I'm here, I might as well live the day out, that sort of thing. But do you reckon that, I know it has now. Now you're grateful, but back then, do you reckon you were like, I'm going to look at life differently?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think even at a young age, I was able to see how quickly things could change
Mm,
and how quickly things that I took for granted could be taken away, like the ability to simply walk and
yeah.
run and get around. So I did feel an enormous amount of gratitude to have survived my illness,
Yeah.
and it was really empowering to go through that and feel as though I learned so much that one day I wanted to share that with others.
Mm. And this podcast, like most of my guests are like on here to not to promote themselves, but to share their story. And where can we people find you? And it's kind of like they've got a website and that, and you're doing a complete flip on that, because I want to get right into the Make a Wish stuff. It's
Mhm.
you are here not to promote you at all, not to send people to your website, none of that. You just want to tell the story of Make a Wish, and get people following that. So, which you're this amazing ambassador for it. So it obviously changed your life. So, at what where were you on the journey, and how did Make a Wish come about, and how did it come to you?
Yeah, so I remember I was a few months into my treatment when I heard about the Make-A-Wish organization. And it was at a time that I still had a really long road ahead of me and things were hard. It was hard to find things to look forward to because I was really in the thick of it. And what Make-A-Wish did was it just gave me hope. It gave me something to look forward to. Uh, I had so much fun thinking about what my wish would be. If you can only imagine being a kid and being told you may be granted a wish. Um,
Wow.
it's incredible. It's incredible. And it just made me feel like there were people in my community around me that understood and validated what I was going through
Yeah.
and were supportive to do something special, like a wish for me. So my wish, I wish to go to Walt Disney World to meet a Disney animator because that was something that was really special to me while I was going through treatment. I love to draw. I love to watch the animated Disney films. So I knew right away that's what I wanted it to be.
I love that, because it's like most kids want to go to Disneyland to ride on the Big Dipper or ride on the teacups or to see Donald Duck, or that's the thing. But at 11, I said that intrigues me. I absolutely admire that intrigue and that learning. Is that I want to go deeper. Yeah, yeah, sure. I want to see Mickey Mouse. I want to see that, but I want to see an animator to even be in the thick of that pain, and then to even go, I want to do that step further. That's helping me learn rather than bringing me joy. Even though I'm sure it brought you immense joy meeting an animator. That's amazing. Did you have to apply to Make a Wish, or do they come to the hospitals, or like how does the process work?
Yeah, so it was introduced to me by one of the social workers at the clinic. And there is an application process. You can be referred for a wish. It can be initiated by a patient's family, or they can be referred by their healthcare provider. So there's a number of ways. And then Make a Wish will review the application for eligibility. And what's kind of cool is now being on the other side of it, I am a medical advisor for my local Make-A-Wish chapter.
Yep.
So I help with reviewing eligibility and ensuring travel safety for our wish recipients, which is really fun.
Wow. Wow. And I'm going to get to that because you're now a doctor. So let's just talk about this for a minute, just for a second, this Make-A-Wish,
Yeah.
because I want to get into that as well. So you're in America and you went to the one in Anaheim. Is that the one you went to, or Orlando?
The one in Orlando. Yep,
Yeah.
Orlando.
Well, that's awesome because I know there's kids in Australia that, as an American, Disneyland is in America, so it's kind of like domestic travel, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty promising that you'll get there at some point. For an Australian kid, Disneyland is like this, a place that I'll never get to. It's like the most awe-inspiring place ever. So I'm not sure how many Make-A-Wish recipients from Australia get to go all the way over to Disneyland, but I know some do because I've seen it. So I love that. And Orlando must have been, I know that's been there about 30 years now, hasn't it? I reckon. I'm getting old.
Well, they just celebrated their 50th anniversary.
50.
Yes.
Oh, God, then I am getting older. So it's funny because you're a great person to talk to about this. My niece called me a nana the other day. She said, "You look like a nana." And I said, "Geez," I said, I'm nearly 60. And I said, "I don't mind looking like a nana. And that's perfectly fine by me." And then I said to her, "You know what? Rather than criticize people for how they look, it's actually a blessing. It's a blessing for people to even hit 50, because there are so many people, as you know, there's so many people who don't make that, so it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how you turn up. After if you can make it to 50, every decade you make, that's a damn blessing. That it really is a. So anyway, I don't know why I threw that in. It's just that I'm feeling old because of Orlando. 50 years. Oh my Lord, that's amazing. So now that you've I am coming back to Make-A-Wish because there are a lot of questions I've got about that because there's a lot of processes they have, in place and a lot of events and things that they hold. You became a doctor. So do you think you were always wanting to be a doctor or an animator? Or do you think that you became a doctor because of the treatment you received? Or like how much of that journey impacted your outcome now?
Yeah, great question. So I would say I probably went into my diagnosis really interested in drawing, art, and animation. And then I came out of it wanting to be a pediatrician. I absolutely knew 100% this is what I was going to do. And I knew that I wanted to stay connected with the hospital, with kids and families that were going through similar experiences, and use this really profound and life-changing experience that I had and turn around and use it for good.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was so fortunate to have such wonderful care. I was treated at Children's Minnesota, which I just had such wonderful doctors, nurses, child life staff. Everyone there was just amazing. It was really inspiring to say, I want to go turn around and do this for another child.
Mm. How long have you been doing that now at this end of the stick?
So no, great question. I have been for now over 12 years. I've been working as a pediatrician at the hospital that I was treated at.
Wow.
Which it's really an amazing experience to be able to give back in that way.
Do you have many kids that have come through now that are recipients of Make-A-Wish?
I do. What is so cool too is any family that has benefited from this organization, you just bring it up, say, tell me about your wish, and just everyone in the room lights up. It's kind of it's a connection that if you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
And this organization has the ability to bring so much joy into the lives of not only these kids, but siblings, families that are dealing with these serious illnesses. And it is just life-changing for everyone.
Wow, it must be great to watch. Going back on that, just on that point you just made, when your family, so your little sister and your parents all went to Orlando with you, obviously, they don't just throw you on a plane and off you go. What, you said for you it brought some hope. What do you think it brought to the rest of your family? Do you think, because as a parent, for me, I would be thinking rather than hope, like, because you'd be thinking hope, I'd be thinking, probably like a gratitude that other people care about my kid, that kind of thing. I don't know. Have they spoken about it?
Yeah. Well, I would say to us, it was so much more than just like a trip or a trip to
Yeah.
Disney World. It was just made to be so special.
Yeah.
Um, from everything from like being picked up in the limo to meeting the pilot on the airplane, like every piece of it I just was made to be so special, feel so special. And at Disney World, they give you a little button, you get to go to the front of every line, and everybody is recognizing that you're there for a wish trip, which is really, really neat. Um, with my family, it's a really, really cherished memory of ours. And we have actually been able to go back as a family a couple times to the same place that we were able to stay for our wish and really just celebrate those memories.
Mm.
And it it really means a lot to all of us to be able to go back and do that.
I bet it's tear jerking, to be honest, very, because if you go back to that place, it's kind of like looking at you. You might not have been here. What a beautiful blessing we have, to have this time with you, because we may have missed it. We could have missed it. Somebody could have missed it. And I'm tearing up as just imagining what your parents feel every time you relive that journey. It's but I'm a sook, so that's okay. So just bear with me, because I sook all the time. I think that's I think it's special. Tell me, when you are working in the hospital with the kids now, and there's going to be kids with bone cancer, and there's going to be kids with tumors and leukemia and all sorts of life-threatening illness, and some of them are not going to make it. How do you feel or think, but particularly feel, when you're looking at them and that you were there, and like, I think that's pretty special to have a doctor who has actually been there and felt what they feel. Do you see yourself treating them differently, or like, how am I trying to say this? So you'd have this feeling. Do you think that they feel your different feeling, that, hey, I really get you? Do you think? Oh, that was a long-winded question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I feel like I'm able to connect with families on a different level, having
Yeah.
been on the other side,
Yeah.
having been in the hospital bed. I know what it feels like to be in the hospital for a long time and to be really sick. Um,
Mm.
and I think on some level, I can sit down with patients and families, and I can really, really tell them that I get it on some level.
Yeah.
Obviously, every situation is different, but there's, some commonalities between that experience that um, it's really special to be able to have the um, experience that I've had, to be able to have actually be able to empathize on a level that's meaningful like that.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, yeah. I mean, the fortunate thing is now most of the families that do benefit from Make-A-Wish, children go on to survive their illnesses and to live long and happy lives. Um, so it's not always a final wish. Um, in most cases, it's something that really provides a lot of hope so children can better cope with their illnesses. So families um, are experiencing less stress and anxiety and trauma through this experience and are given this gift of hope,
Mm.
which is something I think is just so powerful. It really is.
I've been through, my sister had cancer, and that was in her late 20s, and she didn't survive. It was 5 years of And I know that's stress for a family, in that time, and it's relentless, and let alone what it was like for her, but it's relentless stress. It's just that day in, day out, you can't think of anything else. It, even just to have that wish, even if it's just for a few days, or it's that respite, isn't it? It's that I can think about something else, and I can just give my mind a break from the and you don't want to think about it, because you know it's stressing you, and you know it's no good, and you know you can't change it. You know the worry is just not doing anything. It never goes away. So do you think that, like you're sitting now on the board and you're sort of, advising who gets it? Do you ever get reports back from them to say, oh my God, I needed that mental break? That was so good for my mental health and well-being. And yeah, you get that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mentioned just bringing up the word make-a-wish to families who have experienced it. It's just like you can just see like their body just relaxes and they get so happy to talk about it. I think for children, it is a way that for those of us that have experienced a wish, we can reclaim our own childhood, a piece of it.
Yeah.
And that feels very empowering.
Mm.
Um, so one of the things that I get to participate in is we have a yearly wish gala where we highlight some of the wishes that we've granted over the course of the year. And it's so fun. We always have like a wish child come and share what their wish was, and we do a little video about it, and they come and talk about their wish, and that's my favorite moment of the whole thing, because you just see how impactful these experiences are. It's incredible.
And that would be, if the gala's for fundraising purposes, which I imagine it is, it would be, you couldn't help but say, oh man, I want to send a kid to Disneyland. I want to be part of this, because I think that people sitting there witnessing it, that they've got no, you kind of have no choice but to want to be part of it. Like the
Oh,
full
yeah,
emotions that would, yeah, I think you'd experience every single emotion sitting there watching a kid saying how impactful it was for their life. And you couldn't help but to want to give that to somebody.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. So I wanted to ask you something about, I'm just reading it because I didn't want to get it wrong. There's a wish impact study. And that, what is that study, and what is it, what are the implications of that? What happens? Tell us some more about that. I'm interested.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I love talking about the Wish Impact Study.
Yeah.
I think um, the Wish Impact Study really puts into like data what I feel like I've known for my whole life about Make-A-Wish. And as my role as a physician, I've seen this as well. The Wish Impact Study, it was a survey that was sent out to over 3,000 uh, families that have received a wish, so patients, family members, and healthcare providers. And the results of this came out in 2022, which just showed what I think we all knew, is just the impact of a wish is so far reaching. So we
Mm.
know that families going through these experiences, they experience traumatic stress. They're prone to anxiety, depression, and we found that families who receive a wish have a better chance of being able to cope with their illness in a positive way. They're experiencing less of these symptoms, and of their healthcare providers, over 90% of them actually thought they were in a better place physically because of their wish to fight their illness.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing, because I think we all know, mental health translates to physical health.
Yep.
And when children and families feel hopeful, when they feel joy, when they feel empowered, their better able to physically be in a place where they can handle the treatments and the stresses that they're going through.
Yeah. Is that study available to the public? Like, is it a document that's out there for everyone to see?
Yeah, great question. So you can actually find more information about the study at Make-A-Wish's website,
Yeah.
wish.org,
Yeah.
and it'll talk a little bit more about the findings there.
Wow, that's great. It's like when you talk about, your mental health translates to your physical health, and that feeling of happiness. I mean, what is happiness? That's a giant debate there. What is happiness? I don't know. It comes under so many banners and everything else. But when you do feel good, you do feel better. Like if you when you're happier, and I'll just say happier as a blanket statement. You do feel happier. But also, I want to add to that is that I think that when you feel seen, heard, and valued, you also sit in a better place. And so with these kids, it's kind of like, well, someone sees me, someone hears my pain, somebody values me. And the fact that a stranger has been the one that's seen you and heard you and valued you, and wanted to bring you joy, that's got to lift your spirits, doesn't it? And so if you put all these together as a combination of spirit lifting, and is that on a cellular level, and what I'm talking about here is that your cells can heal, they can rejuvenate quicker, when we're at a higher frequency, when everything's like this, we're in such a good place. So you can have all the data. We've sent 3,000 families and everything else, but that does not mean the same as that. Yes, it impacted me on a happier physical, better recovery level. That's the data, isn't it? That's the stuff that really says I got better. I got better because of this. So I just find that I love this. Absolutely love it. I love it. And so I don't know what to. I've got 1,000 questions. I'm trying to get them all in some kind of order, But when when you're with the kids in the hospital now, some of them are not going to get to make a wish, like because you just can't give it to everybody. Do you talk? Do you? I'm just thinking how hard it must be to say to kids, well, I was here, I felt this, but I had a wish and my life got better, because you can't say that to some, because you're kind of setting them up to go, oh, well, that was great. You got a wish, but I'm not getting one, So do you talk about it, or do you not? How do you go with that? It's a balancing act.
Right. Well, I think in a lot of cases, I don't have to talk about it. And it's simply kind of using the same idea of inspiring hope through things that spark joy in that particular child.
Yeah.
So it may not be a big wish every time, but it may be talking about what they're looking forward to when they leave the hospital, talking about how we're going to get them back to, playing basketball or playing in their next hockey game. Maybe talking about how can we get some friends there to, help cheer them up or make them feel a little better in the meantime. There are so many small things I think we do every day for our patients that help them cope. And it doesn't always have to be extravagant or big.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to continue to encourage. And it doesn't always mean that I have to talk about my entire experience, but I think sitting down and really getting to know kids and getting to know what sparks that joy and sparks that hope is so critical in how we are able to face these challenges.
Yeah. In the medical profession, it's like transactional often. It's kind of like, well, you're here, I need to give you this medication, and let's hope you get better, and I'll do my job, you do your thing and recover, and hopefully we can part ways, and things will be good. Now, I'm not saying it's cold. I'm definitely saying it's unemotional, because if I couldn't not work in the medical profession, because I'm an empath and I would be in tears all the bloody time. I couldn't do it. But you know, I'm thinking about the people that work around you, because you've been there, you're back in that same hospital, and possibly some of the same people are still there, the same staff, possibly. And so the people that work with you, how much? So, you know, like you're saying that you've got this real empathy, you've got this real connection with them, your real understanding of them. Now, if you take you out of the picture, that doesn't exist. You know, people still empathize and they still feel and they still care, but haven't got that same thing. Do you think when other staff watch you, it makes a difference to them? Do you think the connection you have actually impacts the people surrounding you as they work with you?
Well, that's a great question. I am fortunate enough I get to teach medical students and residents, so people training to be pediatricians at my hospital, and I try to show, through how we care for patients, how important it is to address kind of the whole patient, really getting to know the whole child. Also understanding how important it is to make sure that parents and caregivers are well supported,
Yeah.
and that they have the resources that they need. Because we know that is like that child's like number one, go-to person or people that they go to for support. So making sure that everyone's taken care of is so vital.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah, I definitely try to show that, through how I care for patients and families.
But I think further than that, I think people are just got to feel it. I think that you couldn't help but feel your love and connection. You just couldn't help but there's with kindness, like we get a boost of serotonin and great stuff when we do kindness and when we receive kindness. But there's also studies to show that the people witnessing acts of kindness, and I'm not saying that you're doing specific acts of kindness, but just your understanding of their situation is already kindness in itself. And so there's this research to say that people witnessing acts of kindness also get a boost of serotonin. So it's and other chemicals. I can't remember what the other ones are, but I know serotonin is definitely in there. And so I'm looking at your face, and you're probably thinking, "Geez, that's never even crossed my mind." But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just making up my own stuff there. But
Oh,
you're going to look for it now, aren't you?
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a good point. I mean, it's just witnessing these types of connections. And I say connection because I really do feel like, making that connection with families, with kids, that's where it all starts, are these relationships, that trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a part of it and bearing witness to it, I think is also powerful.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. You know what? I want to go back to something you said at the start. Well, I said it, not you. At the very start, I sort of said there's all these different feelings and different things and different thoughts about Make-A-Wish and everything else. When organizations become big charities, there can be skepticism, or there can be kind of like, oh, I wonder how much the kids actually get, and I wonder every single kid goes to Disneyland. Like we make a lot of people just in general make a lot of assumptions about everything, specifically charities where you've got no control. You give money and you've got no control about where that money goes. What do people get wrong? Like, is this a theme that often sort of comes up about what people get wrong about Make-A-Wish? And maybe there's not. Maybe I'm just making that up.
Yeah. I think the number one theme that people get wrong is that it's a last wish and a final wish for kids.
Yeah.
I think that is an assumption that's just simply not true, thankfully, for a majority of the kids that we encounter. And I mean, that's thanks to better outcomes for a lot of diseases for children over the last couple decades that have improved substantially since Make-A-Wish was first founded as an organization. So I think that's where the impact of a wish can even go further. I think about how impactful it is just to think about the memory of my wish is so powerful.
Yeah.
And not only that, then you're inspiring these children and families to give back and to kind of pay it forward in the future. And that's how I felt personally. So in a way, it feels like the gift of a wish is more long lasting. And I would say even people that have lost a child that has had a wish, I mean, I can only imagine how precious those memories are and how important that was to those families.
Yeah.
But fortunately, most children now are going on to, live long lives after their wishes, which is great.
You said that just now. You're saying, they live longer, and then you said thanks to medical advances, which I agree with. There's so many advances, but also on top, do you also think that just that joy is also a big contributor? I mean, I know you said it. So if you think about the advancement of medicine plus this boost of joy, it's life-saving, actually. It's a life-saving thing that is that you can directly attribute life-saving to surgery or to treatment or something like that, but it's so much harder to measure the direct attribution from Make-A-Wish, but in actual fact, that is what's happening. It's boosting them to such a degree, and wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also for the families, I think, like you said, that they go ahead and pay it forward, but we all know that we're healthier when we are kinder. Like that's proven. The more the kinder I am, the better well-being I've got, and the better well-being I've got, the healthier I'm going to be, and that kind of stuff. And so if everybody's sort of paying it forward to some degree or feeling a sense of gratitude and they're buzzing at that frequency, that's just a lot more healing, it's got to be a better long-term outcome. It's just
yeah, and that's absolutely where a lot of us are. Those of us that treat children with these critical illnesses, while it's a very difficult thing to measure, our perception is that children are they're just better equipped to fight their illnesses when they have that sense of joy, that sense of gratitude, and that sense of hope.
Yeah. And we might be talking on two different levels here. You're talking on the medical, biological level, and I'm talking on some woo-woo level. But
yeah, well, they kind of intersect, right? It's kind of the whole picture, right?
I think they
but
do
yes.
too. Yeah, I think they do. What have you, if the kids coming in, because this is just off Make-A-Wish, but an intriguing thing that I think listeners would want to know. The kids coming in, do you think there's more kids now getting cancer type illnesses than 20 years ago?
So, there are a lot of children being diagnosed with cancer. Part of it is early detection. There's more of a understanding of what to look for to go in and get things checked out. I'd say from a wish standpoint, we're actually at a point where we're able to grant more wishes too, as the organization has gotten bigger. So in some ways, the presence of Make-A-Wish just has increased too because of the growth of the organization, which is great to accommodate that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that potentially a lot of diseases were there in the first place, or illnesses, or whatever's going on for people, but we didn't diagnose them quick enough. And so I love that Make-A-Wish is growing. Is that this worldwide, or are you talking about specifically American?
Yeah, well, worldwide, Make-A-Wish, I think last I was aware, it was well over 500,000 wishes have been granted.
Wow.
Worldwide over the
Wow.
course of the organization,
How
which
long's
is
that?
amazing.
How long's it been going for?
So it's been around, I think we're going on year, if I recall correctly, year 43, I believe. So yeah, it started in the early 80s, and yeah, we are going strong. So that's fantastic to see so many wishes being granted.
Wow, that's amazing. Now I don't know, I'm good at maths, but right now I'm thinking about other things. I'm not sure I'm right. That's about 10,000 a year. Am I right, or 1,000 a year? Maybe 10,000.
Well, yeah, great question. So it's increased. So it'd be more than that.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head how many over the last year. But I do know that I feel like every year there's more and more wishes that are able to be granted, which is amazing.
Well, it makes a happier world, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
it spreads. Kindness spreads, joy spreads. I've got this very naive view, and I'm going to stick with it. And I don't care that the more people are kind, the more kind people that are out there, and the more acts of kindness, and the more joy that we have, and the more good things we look for and find. Eventually, we'll reach a tipping point, and all these horrible people, the horrible energy in the world will just, we'll flip over to a good world. Not saying the world's always bad, but you know what I mean. It would be so nice to just see so much more joy and love and kindness to each other. It would. Maybe I am living in some fantasy world, but if you don't hope for it, it doesn't come. You'll never get there. But I love it. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of coming, and this isn't quite there, but in April, and we're not going to hit this episode in April. It's going to be sort of February, March. But in April, there's World Wish Day. So tell us about World Wish Day, so we can prepare people and hopefully, hopefully
Yes,
inspire people to
yes.
take some action.
So every April we celebrate World Wish Day. That marks the anniversary of the first wish that Make-A-Wish granted. And so it was really the wish that started it all. And we're able to celebrate how far we've come and how many wishes have been granted. And I think, like what you said, hope and joy, they're contagious.
Yeah,
And like you said, it's spirit lifting in so many ways. And I think supporting this organization supports families, children that may be your neighbors, maybe in your community. Um, so many people worldwide that it really does lift spirits and spreads joy.
yeah, I love it. I because this is my mind, I have to be accurate, and I have to love. I'm such a digger for information. Is that World Wish Day? Is it the exact day? Like, is it an exact birthday, or is it just sort of a day that celebrates the first one? I'm so curious.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
I know I have to let's yeah, it is an exact day. Okay, I have it. April 29th is World
Okay.
Wish Day. I had to double check. Yeah, April 29th. So it's coming up, and it is an exact day. It's the anniversary of that first wish.
Do you know what that first wish was?
Yeah, so
I'm pushing you here,
it
aren't
was
I?
I know, it's a young boy who and if I recall correctly, wanted to be a firefighter. So he got to learn more about that, and
Oh,
was made to feel very special on the day of his wish. And that was really the wish that started it all back
wow.
in 1980.
Wow. And you know what? That very first wish from a very small organization, because it would have been small then, just somebody would have come up with the idea, oh, why don't we just give these kids a wish and make them feel great? Not knowing that it would become such a massive, worldwide organization. But can you imagine the joy of those, whoever started it? Might have been one person, it might have been two, I don't know, whatever. But can you imagine the joy that would have brought them to see this one kid on a fire truck, and when you say contagious, it would have been, oh my God, we've got to do it again. We've got to do it again. We've got to find another kid. We've got to find another kid. You wouldn't be able to help yourself, would you? It would just be this,
Exactly.
wow. Well, I love the thought of that. I'm going to look that story up if I can find it. I know you can never find everything, but you can find most things on the internet. It's amazing.
Yep.
No, I've loved it. Now, Jen, you are on here. As I said at the start, you're not promoting yourself, which is very humble. Your story in itself is so worth sharing. You know, the fact that of what you went through as a kid, the difference that it made to you, like and I'm talking about the illness, the difference it made to you, shocking you and changing, but just being a real bummer for your world. And then the joy of somebody else caring about you, strangers caring about you, and what that's done for your family. And the fact that you're still here and, potentially some of that joy helped you recover. I would say likely a lot of that joy helped you recover and get through the other side. And now you're helping kids in that same hospital. And for me, that is such a great story, and that is such a great gift. You are such a great gift to the world. You deserve this to be about you. You deserve this to have your own website and just be out there and bloody, like spreading the joy. But you're choosing to focus to do this for Make-A-Wish as an ambassador, and the humility in that is just overwhelmingly beautiful. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, obviously we're not sending people to your website, we're sending them to Make-A-Wish. So where are we sending people off to check it out and everything else?
Yeah, so wish.org is the place to go for more information on how you can be involved, how to refer someone for a wish, more information about your local Make-A-Wish chapter. And you can read more about the Wish Impact Study there. So yeah, wish.org.
Fantastic. And there's also Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and there's a YouTube channel as well. So I will I'll put all those in the show notes so people can join in and hopefully donate and hopefully participate in World Wish Day. Is that like an online fundraising thing, or are there events, and how does that work?
Yeah. So typically there's going to be events held throughout the Make-A-Wish chapters to celebrate that World Wish Day. So you can check out wish.org to see more about the events surrounding that day and how you can be involved and support the cause.
That's fantastic. All right, everybody, April the 29th. And don't forget, America and Australia are on 2 different days. So not dates, days, we're going to be able over here. We're going to have it before you. So we'll be able to tell you, gee, it was a really good day, Make-A-Wish Day or World Wish Day. Jen, thank you so very much. Dr. Jen Pratt. I just love to be able to say that because, that's what you are now because of all this, and it's just amazing. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and thank you for all the good that you do in the world and for the hope and the joy and the love that you bring to those kids, because they definitely need you in their corner. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. All right, thanks heaps. See ya.